So as I said, our mission is to make it ridiculously easy for these brands to connect the data and then get insights. So I think we'll talk through that's the steps you've got to go through. There's no point in going straight to the report if you can't rely on the report telling you. We work with these kind of brands. Some of them you are aware of, obviously, the shoe brand in the US, and bigger consumer goods groups, but a lot of small independent, about 1,500 brands globally using our software. And typically they have this same kind of problem. So they want to answer basic questions like which campaigns lead sales, one of the basic things you answer about online marketing. Where do these shoppers drop out before buying? So my campaign got them as far as the checkout, great, but then what stopped them? And then which channel has the highest lifetime value? So I don't want to optimize for the kind of campaigns that are bringing me just people who drop off quickly, buy something low value, or even worse, buy something, return it, and effectively got negative value. So how do we measure this stuff? So first of all, what is LTV? So lifetime value, customer lifetime value, lifetime customer value, predicted lifetime value. These are basically acronyms for the same thing. So what we mean is the total revenue over the customer's lifetime, or if you have a subscription customer, the total sum of their subscription payments. Now, lifetime is obviously not literally the consumer's lifetime. I don't think anyone on the planet, not even Google, knows of that. But really, think of it as the window of visibility that you have on your customer. Maybe it's probably the lifetime that you've been with that particular trade e-commerce platform. It's certainly, and it might be less than that. It might just be the lifetime that you can link together. But it's certainly, hopefully, more than one web session or one purchase. So with any business, as Neil Patel said, you need to think about a single metric that you really want an entire company to focus on. And the reason that's so important is there's just so many different things you can be measuring. Yes, you obviously will have some kind of further KPIs you track, but it's so much easier to get people aligned about one thing that matters, and just everyone can say, "Oh, we moved that one thing." And I want to make this case today that customer lifetime value is that one thing for most online direct-to-consumer businesses, because if you optimize for that, you're really getting loyalty to the brand. You're lowering your acquisition cost because every dollar you're spending marketing is basically buying a further amount down the line. So I want to take a real example. One of our customers, Huel, and this is a fictional example. I'm not giving you insights into their business, but let's consider the fictional customers. Now, you might have heard about the stuff yourselves in supermarkets, but like a lot of drinks and food brands, they kind of got going with subscriptions, selling to kind of power users, and still a lot of the businesses, recurring orders online. So let's make a little assumption. So each customer subscribes to this ready mix chocolate drink for $50 a month. It's not, it's a supply of drink per month. It doesn't cost $50 a bottle. It's like $5 a bottle. And let's assume that it costs them $70 on average to acquire a customer. So a mix of marketing techniques for an average $70. Okay, so let's just do a little thought experiment with maths. So we've got 3 buyers. We've got cautious Claire. She's, she tries it out, but she transfers off the first delivery. So then we've got experimental Eric. He tries everything new. This sounds cool. Huel, let's take it on to the next thing. So he tries it twice, but then counts on the second payment. And then we've got the third one, loyal Luke. He looks a bit like a cyclist, or he's a steady guy. I'm a cyclist too. I'm not just taking this as a cyclist. And he's still subscribing after 5 months. So he's still a customer. He's paid us at least 5 times. So let's do the economics of that. So lifetime value for Claire, remember, 1 month, $50. So 1 month, $50 that's her lifetime value. Experimental Eric, 2 payments, $100. Loyal Luke, more than at least $250, I should say. He might cancel now, but $250 plus. So are they profitable? Well, no. I mean, Claire, we burned the money on the acquisition cost. We didn't even get back all of the actual products and shipping costs. So we make a $45 loss on her. Experimental Eric, no, we do get back at least the marketing cost, but still, by the time we've shipped out the product, still losing money. So it's only really after that fourth payment that we're in the black. We've actually made money from this customer. So in this business, they need to acquire a customer that's going to subscribe for at least 4 months. We've got a 4-month payback period for their marketing spend. Okay, so the question is, do you know which channel it is? Can you in your business measure which channel it is that brings you those loyal customers? Or can you that, because that channel segmentation and obviously, hopefully, campaign segmentation is critical. So as I said, these are a typical mix of acquisition channels for one of our brands. Obviously, Facebook ad, Google ads. Refersion you might not have heard of. It's an affiliate marketing platform that we partner with. So affiliates have paid referrals. And let's assume that Facebook ads brought us Claire. So we're definitely using money on that. Google ads brought us Eric, still losing money on that spend. And Refersion brought us Loyal Leaks. So that's the channel that we should be optimizing for. But that's the question: is can we link back the lifetime payments to the channel? That's the question. And then what if we offer a free trial? I mean, it makes it even more complicated, because if to take Small, which is selling laundry powders subscription, to tempt buyers on, they say, hey, we'll shoot you a free pack. But then we're losing even more money on that first one, because we haven't even got a single payment from her. All we've got is our acquisition cost and our product and shipping cost. So can you differentiate trial signups from second, third payments? We want to know that people started the trial, but we actually want to know whether they paid in terms of our ROI for marketing. So what drives customer lifetime value? So obviously the number of payments. So as we just talked about, more payments, higher value. The frequency of the payments. If you're getting someone purchasing more regularly, higher value within a period of time. And then the value of the payments. Getting people to buy higher value items, higher lifetime value. You get it. So, okay, hopefully you understand now why we need to measure it. How do we measure it? So a lot of the brands we're working with are using these two platforms. They're using Shopify to sell their goods, and then they're using Google Analytics to figure out what is happening. And there is analytics on Shopify, but it's really basic. This is an example of kind of Shopify analytics. You can just you can break down. You can do your kind of basic high level how much money to make this month from reporting. But there's no way in there. It's not really built to do marketing attribution to actually figure out what campaigns led to sales. So that's why our product is just really to make it easier for customers to answer that question. And we highly recommend, rather than trying to do this. So in Shopify, they do have an attribution report, but it's very, very simplistic. I mean, it's just literally telling me that I've got a number of sales. I can't really drill into anything like multi-touch, multi-channel attribution. So we say, look, don't do that. Google Analytics does have faults, and I'm happy to talk to them afterwards. But ultimately, it was built to answer this question at scale, and we believe it's still one of the best kind of, let's say, cross-channel, cross-campaign tools to be able to compare apples for apples. Obviously, you can go into any of it on these marketing platforms and say, yeah, Facebook ads, what did you bring me? But what we want to be able to do is compare like for like. So like for like data, UTM tagging, which is Google Analytics invented, is now fairly ubiquitous. So you can be fairly sure that most of the marketing tools you work with are going to work out the box with it. Might need a little bit of setup, but it's generally consistent. As I said, it allows you to look at multi-channel attribution. So the interaction, not just what did Facebook ads bring me, but did having the customers see the ad on Facebook help me convert an existing user, or help me prospect to new users that have never interacted before. Fairly powerful analytics module, and we'll come on to the end. I'm going to talk about GA4 at the end of the talk, by the way, so talk about that. But the other really powerful thing is the ability to then use that as effectively your central pot of data that you know is at least accurate, and then export it into other reporting tools, so that almost every other dashboard reporting tool has a connected Google Analytics. So you may not like GA as a web interface, but it's very well supported. but also it now natively supports BigQuery, so you can sort of chuck it into warehouse, and in the later stage, if you have a data analyst or data scientist who wants to work with you, they could access it that way. So the typical problems that we find when people are setting up and pulling the data into Google Analytics and trying to build reports is this sort of stuff. So first of all, they are missing or they only have part of the marketing attribution, and that's typically a quite technical tracking problem that the customer journey on the website is broken. So you can see that they visited these landing pages, but you can't link that through to the purchase they then made. The second thing is that you know that you had sales there, but they just don't appear in the analytics. So you know that you made $1,000 this week, but you can't see it in the analytics. And the third thing is that you're not getting the repeat purchase in there. This is particularly true. So let's say you have subscription commerce, they set up a commitment repeat, but you can't track. You can track maybe they started the subscription, but not, as I said, whether they carry on paying. How that kind of typically, a very typical kind of setup would, this is the channel grouping report in Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, and you'd see all the traffic there. You can see on the left-hand column, you can see where all the traffic's coming from. 3,000 people in paid search, 2,000 direct. The problem is when I look at where the purchases are coming from, they all appear as direct. And direct is Google Analytics for, I don't know. It basically means that there was no channel or source that we can link it to. So, this, if I want to figure out where my sales are coming from, this is a fairly useless report because it basically just says they're all coming from I don't know. So, as I said, what we need to be able to do to make that report work and therefore to answer that question is making sure that the user that bought the thing is linked back to the user that landed on the page and came from the campaign. And so, again, this is what Littledata does, is unify the data in one bias source of truth, connect the marketing source to the campaigns, and then be able to calculate the LTV by channel. And as I said, it doesn't matter. This is, whatever your marketing mix is, whatever your, wherever you're advertising or whether you're doing own channels or email marketing, etc., you can still pull in that data and send it to Google Analytics. And so marketing attribution is one of the key things you might want to do with GA, but it's also, you want to track it, actually the whole shopping funnel. So as I said, do they get as far as the checkout and then drop out? And then what exactly bit of the checkout is it that blocks it? Is it that they didn't get as far as choosing the shipping method? Maybe you need to go and maybe in that kind of customer's geography, you don't have the right shipping options. Maybe you don't support the right payment options. Maybe that's why they dropped out. So be able to get that granularity of the checkout is really powerful as well. So if we fix those problems and we come back to the same report, this is kind of, this report starts to look a lot more useful. Same report, but you can see now that we have meaningful revenue attributed to different channels. And obviously what I can then do is go in and drill in and go, okay, great, this sales came from there, but then within that, where, which campaigns brought me sales. So I think fixing, if you go into Google Analytics, this isn't working for you, I think fixing that should be a real priority. And yeah, just to sort of spell out again, you say paid search. So this ROI. We know we had 22,000 users that came through paid search. We can, by the way, if they came from Google Ads, automatically pull in the cost of those, so we can do the ROI calculation within there. If we're using other channels, we can still import costs into Google Analytics, but it is a bit more hard work. But either way, we can still do the calculation offline and say, okay, got this amount of revenue from this channel over this time period, we spent this amount. There's my return. So just a couple of caveats when you analyze this kind of report. So a user in Google Analytics is basically the browser where the cookie is stored. So one of the basic problems of let's say tracking the lifetime is that lifetime is often quite short if we're only thinking about a browser cookie. So a person, let's say if the person comes in, they visit your site, they come back the next day, but either they've set their cookies to expire or as happens now more often with Safari and iOS, the browser expires the cookies for them, they'll then suddenly appear as a new user, even though it's exactly the same person, exactly the same browser, exactly the same computer. So that's the challenge of modern web analytics, is kind of being able to link together. Now, there's no magic bullets, but again, some of the things we're doing for our customers is just trying to pick up the cookie ID on the first session and consistently send that through with the future purchases. And also with Facebook ads, being able to actually use first-party data to say, okay, this email, when they get to the checkout, they've actually told us who they are, what email address, what physical address, and Facebook then go, aha, this is this Facebook profile here. And even though the journey in between is unknown, we can at least tie them back to an ad that they saw. Now, Google Analytics does have a built-in lifetime value report. This is the one for Universal Analytics. It's somewhat useful, but as a caveat that their idea of a user is typically quite a short-lived thing. So worth exploring that if you haven't. But as I said, it's only going to really make real use if you've got a lot of the revenue attributed right first. And then you can they'll do the calculation for you of kind of revenue per user. So this is not just when we say user here, we don't mean people who purchase something from our site. We just mean people who visited our site. So we can start to at least to break out here effectively what's my cost per click per channel, and figure out basically if there are channels that bring us more valuable people. So measuring return on advertising spend. The calculation is quite simple. Obviously, you need cost. You need the revenue brought, and one over the other is revenue minus cost over cost is your return on investment, your return on advertising spend. And then in Google Analytics on the conversions, multi-channel funnels, you can go and have a look at how the ROS breaks down by different attribution models. So what this means is that you might want to say, okay, look, let's assume that when this campaign was the first interaction user had, what's the return on advertising spend there? What if it's the last interaction? How does that compare? And because there's no right. This is what I guess we want to say. There's no right answer to what is return on investment for your marketing. It really is quite subjective to how you consider it with the other marketing you're doing. But with the model comparison tool, at least you can explore what does it mean if I consider it as a prospecting channel versus a sort of a retargeting conversion channel. And then the other report I find quite useful is the top conversion paths. So this helps you understand when the user's coming back and maybe purchasing over a number of different sessions, number of campaigns. What are the typical routes? Do they come through organic search first and then get retargeted through email? Do they first come from email campaigns, then retargeted by Facebook? At these sort of journeys, and that can help you plan out what are the right combinations to use. So finally, how to maximize lifetime value. So as I said, very simple thing you do is build a segment in Google Analytics to your most valuable customers. So once you've got it working, and then you can actually use that segment to retarget people. So you could you share that segment with Google Ads to encourage them to buy more, or you can build a lookalike audience in Facebook ads. Say Facebook, hey, find people who are like these top purchasing customers. And then finally, you can just use those reports we just showed you, segment and basically reinvest in the channels and campaigns that are working best. And this is kind of just a very simple example of how you build a segment of Google Analytics to say, look, find me all of the customers who spent more than $100. And then you might want to see what gender are they, what age group are those people. You can once you've got that segment, you can look at all the other reports and see what are the commonalities, what do my top spending customers have in common. So just ending thing, how's GA4 changed this? Latest version of Google Analytics, it does look very similar, but underneath it is a very different product. You are going to have to relearn not only how the reporting works, but also how to collect the data. From July next year, you can only use Google Analytics 4. Universal Analytics is dead. So you may have heard this before, but you need to start tracking now so that you can start doing year-on-year comparisons. I think for a lot of companies, that's really important because you have yearly cyclicality, and it's much more valid to compare year-on-year when you work out how you're doing. But the reports, as I said, there are different reports, but similar things. There's still a retention kind of report, a little bit more useful, I would say, than the one in Universal Analytics. You can break it down by lifetime value and some other charts. And probably what's better is that there's a much more powerful analytics module where you can build your own reports. So this is one just with just the purchase revenue over days. The band here is actually, they built in machine learning predictions into it, so you can say, is my purchasing levels within expected range. So in conclusion, customer lifetime value is the one method that matters for e-commerce. Please do make sure your data collection is accurate before you start using those conclusions in your business. And once you have got sort of that, you can use those valuable customer segments to actually plan better, strategize about what marketing do, but actually even more easily build audiences to retarget in those common advertising tools. Thank you very much. Sorry, we ran a little bit short of questions, but we've still got a few minutes. So any questions?
Hello. Hi, so I'm from Austria. I don't know what the situation is here, but how do you deal with the challenges of the GDPR with your tool?
So I mean, GDPR gives the options, to opt out of being tracked. I guess there's two ways to answer that. First of all, obviously, if you're interacting with a brand and you're purchasing from that brand, you've effectively opted into giving the sharing of your first party data with that brand. So the brand will have terms and conditions that they will share that first party data with Google Analytics, Facebook, etc. So I guess from the brand's perspective, we help them be GDPR compliant but still get meaningful analytics. Because as I said, I think that sharing the stuff that the customer's already shared with you and is giving you permission to use is basically the best kind of tracking. But from the customer's perspective, we're also just helping to simple sort of feedback loops where you say, I don't want to be tracked, and then don't track me in the analytics. Because obviously, actually, the mechanics of getting that sort of right to be forgotten are sometimes complicated. But all of these marketing tools, obviously, to be GDPR compliant, have an opt-out. Was your question, though, also, is Google Analytics GDPR compliant? Or is...
So it obviously isn't.
It obviously isn't.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No,
See, I strongly disagree.
In our countries.
I strongly disagree. And it's interesting. I know that Austria and Germany is slightly different of opinion with here in the UK, but as far as I can see, Google Analytics is using technology that every website in the world uses, which is to ping a server with a certain amount of thing. The fact that website's not in Europe or not in the US is actually not the point of GDPR. So just to track someone doesn't make you not GDPR compliant. What you have to do is opt in to say, can I track you? And if you've said, can I track you, and you track them, that's fine. What I think is the bigger problem that I see in the stores we work with is that they have that cookie banner, someone clicks decline, and they still track them anyway. It's not actually plugged in at the back end. I think as long as you're doing that, as long as you respect the customer's consent, I don't think tracking what the customer's doing in Google Analytics or any marketing tool is against the law. But I know that has been interpreted differently by different books. Yes, was there one over here? Yes, over here.
Is there a particular attribution model or method that you recommend to your clients to get the best picture of which channels are contributing to lifetime value?
Yes. Well, perhaps give 2 answers to that. So first of all, I think yeah, Google by default chooses a last non-direct click. I think that's fine for most purposes. What I think is wrong is that a lot of marketing tools will use what I call all click attribution, which means that if the customer at any point in the journey, however tangentially, saw an ad for your product, they'll claim all that revenue for them. So, you pick up, you happen to be scrolling through Instagram, you see an ad for that product, even though you didn't actually really attend to it. And then you happen to buy that product within 90 days. They'll say, hey, Instagram bought your customer. So I think what you've got to do is get away from that and actually start analyzing, did it persuade the customer bought without seeing that ad? And the best way to do that, and this is one of the brilliant features of Google Answers 4, is data-driven attribution. So what GA4 includes, it was a kind of premium feature on the previous version, but it basically, you've got enough campaign data, it'll run the algorithm and say, okay, so look, imagine that every time you just took out the Instagram ads, how many of those customers still converted? So they basically do a probabilistic analysis that says to how certain are we that this campaign or this channel is actually adding value versus just happening to be there when the customer's ready to buy. Because the other thing that often gets really over attributed is like email. So you send someone like an abandoned cart email. Well, of course, that's always the last thing that happened before they purchase if you're using the last click, because you literally told the customer to click here on this email and purchase. So sometimes, there's certain channels that are always overrepresented in the last click attribution. The data-driven one actually figures out whether the customer would have purchased without that thing.
Thank you.